The clink of her wine glass against the table is a tiny, sharp sound in the low hum of the restaurant. But I don't hear it. I don't hear the chatter, the distant clatter of cutlery from the kitchen, the soft jazz pouring from hidden speakers. All I see is the light catching on the silver filigree and the deep sea blue of the sapphires. On her wrist, my mother's bracelet. My breath leaves my body in a silent, violent rush. The air in my lungs turns to ash. It's like watching a ghost. A cherished, beloved ghost, desecrated. It's wrapped around the delicate wrist of a woman I've never met, a woman who is laughing at something my husband just said. Her head is thrown back, her blonde hair catching the same light that glints off my mother's memory.
Mark.
My Mark. He's smiling at her. A smile I haven't seen in years. Not for me, anyway. It's a soft, unguarded smile, full of a private warmth that feels like a physical blow. The world narrows to that single point of light. The bracelet. My mother wore it on her wedding day. She wore it when she brought me home from the hospital. The last time I saw it on her, her hand was cold, resting on a crisp white sheet. I slipped it from her wrist myself, her skin like paper, the familiar weight of it settling into my palm. It was the last piece of her eye could hold. It has lived in a velvet-lined box on my dresser for 5 years, until it vanished 3 months ago. And now, here it is. On her. If you've ever felt that pit in your stomach, that exact moment where your world cracks down the middle, tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if you feel this story in your bones, please subscribe. It helps me more than you'll ever know. Before the ghost, before the restaurant, before the gaping hole in my jewelry box, there was just life. Normal, comfortable, slightly boring life. The kind you build without realizing it, brick by brick, day by day. Mark and I had a house in the suburbs, a lawn that needed mowing every Saturday, and a shared calendar that was mostly filled with dentist appointments and reminders to pay the electric bill. We were a well-oiled machine. Predictable. Safe. We'd been married for 10 years, and the fiery passion of our 20s had settled into the quiet, glowing embers of our 30s. At least, that's what I told myself. Embers are still warm, right? We had our rituals. Sunday morning coffee on the porch. Arguing over what to watch on TV every night until we defaulted to the same crime show. The way he'd always steal the last bite of my dessert, and I'd pretend to be annoyed. These were the small, invisible threads that I thought wove our lives together into something strong.
Something permanent.
And at the center of my personal world, my private history, was the bracelet. It wasn't just jewelry. It was a time capsule. My grandfather, a jeweler with more love than money, had designed it for my grandmother. When she passed, it went to my mother. It's a delicate, intricate thing. Sterling silver vines, like ivy, wrapping around a chain of small, dark sapphires, the color of the ocean at twilight. My mother used to say they were the color of my grandfather's eyes. I have pictures of her wearing it at every major life event. Her graduation, my christening, my own wedding day. She loaned it to me for my something borrowed. As she fastened the clasp on my wrist, she'd whispered, "This isn't just silver and stone, honey. It's all our strength, all our love. It's the women in our family, holding on to each other." When she got sick, I'd hold her hand, my fingers tracing the familiar cool metal of the vines. It was a tangible link to her, to the strong, vibrant woman she was before the illness began to steal her away. After she was gone, the bracelet became my most sacred possession. I didn't wear it often. It felt too special for a trip to the grocery store. I kept it in its original dark blue velvet box, nestled in the top drawer of my dresser, a silent monument. Sometimes, late at night, when the house was quiet and the weight of her absence felt particularly heavy, I'd take it out. I'd let the sapphires catch the moonlight from the window and feel the weight of it in my hand. It was my connection to her, to the line of women I came from. It was my strength. Then one Tuesday morning, it was gone. I remember the exact moment. I was getting ready for a work dinner, something a little fancier than usual. I thought, just this once, I'll wear it. For strength. I opened the top drawer of my dresser, my fingers already anticipating the feel of the cool velvet box. but they met only smooth, polished wood. My hand swept across the drawer. Empty. I pulled the drawer all the way out, my heart starting to thud a low, panicked rhythm against my ribs. Nothing. Just lingerie and a few stray socks. Mark. I called out, my voice tight. Have you seen my mother's bracelet? He was in the living room, watching the news. He didn't even turn his head. The blue one? Isn't it in your jewelry box? No. Mark, that's the point. It's not here. I tore my closet apart. I emptied every drawer, every box, every purse I owned. The bedroom floor disappeared under a mountain of clothes and clutter. The initial prickle of worry bloomed into full-blown panic. My hands were shaking. I felt a cold sweat on the back of my neck. This wasn't like misplacing my keys. This was like losing a part of my own body. It's got to be here somewhere, Mark said, finally appearing in the doorway. He looked more annoyed than concerned, his eyes flicking over the chaos I'd created. You probably just put it somewhere and forgot. I didn't. I snapped, my voice trembling. I never move it. It lives in this drawer. It's always in this drawer. He sighed, a long, put-upon sound. Well, it didn't just get up and walk away, did it? It'll turn up. You're getting worked up over nothing. Over nothing. The words hung in the air between us, ugly and sharp. He didn't get it. He couldn't. To him, it was just an object, a piece of old jewelry. To me, it was my mother's hand in mine. He saw the mess on the floor. I saw a desecrated grave. He went back to the living room, and the sound of the television felt like a wall being built between us. I was alone in the wreckage of my room, and the silence where the bracelet should have been was deafening. The first few days were a blur of frantic, obsessive searching. I retraced my steps 100 times. I called the restaurant from the week before. I sifted through vacuum cleaner bags, my hands dusty and grim. The house, once a sanctuary, started to feel like a hostile space, a place that had swallowed my most precious thing. Every time I thought I'd exhausted every possibility, a new, desperate idea would strike me. Did it fall behind the dresser? Did it get tangled in the laundry and sent to the dry cleaner? Each search ended in failure, leaving me a little more hollowed out than before. Mark's patience, thin to begin with, wore away completely. My constant searching became an irritation. Are you still on about that? He'd ask, his tone laced with exasperation. It's been a week. It's gone. Can we move on?
Move on.
As if it were a lost umbrella. His detachment was a constant low-grade pain. It felt like he wasn't just dismissing the bracelet, but my grief, my connection to my mother. Our conversations grew strained. I'd try to explain the gaping hole its absence left, and he'd stare at me with a blankness that was worse than anger. It's just a thing, Sarah, he said one night, his voice flat. Your mom is gone. A piece of metal isn't going to bring her back. The cruelty of it stole my breath. I felt a chasm opening up between us, a vast, cold space that I didn't know how to cross. I started to feel profoundly alone in my own home. I was grieving the loss of the bracelet, and now I was grieving the loss of the man I thought would help me through anything. A week after it disappeared, I filed a police report. The officer was kind, but clinical. He took down the description, the estimated value from an old appraisal I'd found. He used words like property and item. He promised to do what he could, but his eyes held the weary look of a man who knew the chances of recovering a single piece of jewelry were slim to none. When I told Mark I'd gone to the police, he exploded. You did what? Are you serious? You're treating this like some major crime. It's embarrassing, Sarah. What are they going to do? Send out a SWAT team for a bracelet? It is a major crime to me, I whispered, staring at the stranger my husband had become. The search for the bracelet slowly died down, replaced by a dull, persistent ache. But as one anxiety faded, another grew. Mark became different, more distant. His phone, once left casually on the kitchen counter, was now perpetually in his pocket, screen down. He started working late more often. Big project at the firm, he'd say, brushing off my questions. Just a lot of pressure right now. He mentioned a new colleague, Chloe. A real shark, he called her. A brilliant new hire, he talked about her a lot. Chloe thought this, Chloe did that. Her name started to feel like a stone in my shoe, a constant, low-level irritant. I'd ask about her, trying to sound casual. What's she like? She's great. Really smart. Driven. He'd say, his eyes fixed on his phone screen.
Vague.
Always vague. Then came the little things. A credit card bill with a charge for a restaurant I'd never been to, a fancy place downtown. A work dinner, he said, snatching the bill from my hand. Team thing, I found a receipt for flowers in his coat pocket. Not for me. When I asked, he laughed it off. They were for Sandro in accounting. It was her birthday. The whole department chipped in. His answers were always plausible. Just plausible enough to make me feel crazy for doubting them. I was living in a fog of suspicion. I felt like a detective in my own life, constantly looking for clues, for proof that I wasn't losing my mind. The house grew quiet. We stopped having our Sunday coffees on the porch. We didn't argue over the TV anymore. We just sat in silence, the screen flickering in the dark, miles apart on the same sofa. The love wasn't just embers anymore. It was cold ash. The missing bracelet had been the first sign that something was wrong, a harbinger. Now, its absence felt like a metaphor for my entire marriage. Empty, stolen, gone. I felt like a ghost in my own home, haunting the edges of a life that no longer felt like mine. The more I pushed for connection, the further he retreated, wrapping himself in a cloak of secrets and half-truths. I was losing him, and I was losing myself. The fog of suspicion finally cleared on a rainy Thursday afternoon. It didn't break with a crash of thunder, but with a quiet, sickening click of a mouse. Mark had left his laptop open on the dining room table, a rare oversight.
He'd run out to the store for something.
I was just walking by, tidying up, when an email notification popped up on the screen. The sender's name was Chloe. The subject line was, "Tonight." My heart stopped. My hands went cold. I told myself not to look. Walk away. It's an invasion of privacy. But I couldn't. My own sanity was on the line. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, and I had to know what was over the edge. With a trembling finger, I clicked it open. It wasn't a work email. It was a hotel confirmation. A suite at the Chamberlain downtown. For that night. And beneath the confirmation was a short, brutal message from her. Can't wait to have you all to myself again. Last night was, wow. Leave the work stress behind. And don't forget my present, winky face. The smiley face was a tiny, cheerful knife in my gut. Present. Last night. The screen blurred. The words swam in front of my eyes. It wasn't just suspicion anymore. It was here. In black and white. The late nights, the vague answers, the distance, it all snapped into focus with horrifying clarity. He wasn't just distant. He was living a double life. I scrolled down, a knot of ice forming in my stomach. The email chain was all there. Weeks of it. Flirtatious messages, plans for secret meetings, inside jokes. And then I saw it. An email from Mark, sent about 2 months ago. "I have something for you," he'd written. "Something special. You deserve it. It's old, but it's beautiful. Just like you." The air left my lungs. Old, but beautiful. Time stopped. The missing bracelet wasn't missing. It wasn't lost behind a dresser or tangled in the laundry. It was a gift. He had taken the last piece of my mother, the symbol of my family's strength and love, and he had given it to her. To Chloe. As a trinket. A prize for their sordid affair. The betrayal was absolute. It was a physical force, knocking the wind out of me, making the room spin. It wasn't just about the cheating. He had stolen my past. He had taken my grief and repurposed it as a courtship gift. He had given another woman the one thing in the world that anchored me to my own history. I sank into a chair, the laptop screen glowing in the dim light. I felt nothing and everything all at once. The floor had fallen away, and I was in freefall. I heard his car pull into the driveway. The sound of his keys in the door. I didn't move. I just sat there, staring at the proof of my shattered life, the sound of my own heart breaking, a quiet, rhythmic drumming in the silent house. He walked in, shaking rain from his coat, a grocery bag in his hand. He saw me sitting there, saw the laptop open, and his face froze. The casual, easygoing mask he wore every day just fell away. For a split second, I saw pure, undiluted panic in his eyes. "Sarah," he started, his voice a low croak. "What are you doing?" I didn't answer. I just looked at him. Really looked at him. At the man I had spent a decade of my life with. And I saw a stranger. A thief. A liar. "The bracelet," I said, my own voice sounding distant, hollow. "You gave it to her." It wasn't a question. It was a statement. The truth, laid bare on the dining room table between us. He tried to lie. It was almost pathetic. The denial was reflexive. Automatic.
What? No.
"I don't know what you're talking about."
What have you been looking at?
"You shouldn't be going through my things." He was trying to turn it on me, to make me the villain for discovering his treachery. The gaslighting was so practiced, so smooth. For a horrifying second, I saw how many times he must have used it before. "Don't," I said, my voice dangerously quiet. "Don't you dare lie to me now, Mark. I read the emails. The hotel. The present. You took my mother's bracelet, and you gave it to your mistress." The word mistress hung in the air, tasting like poison on my tongue. His face crumpled. The anger, the denial, it all collapsed into a sort of petulant desperation. "It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think." I was on my feet now, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. The hollow feeling was gone, replaced by a white-hot rage that burned through my veins. "You let me tear this house apart. You let me cry for weeks. You watched me grieve for it, and you said nothing. You told me I was crazy. You told me to move on." I didn't know what to say, he yelled back, his voice rising to match mine. "I was going to get it back." "Get it back? You gave it to her. You took the last thing I have of my mother, the one thing that meant anything to me, and you gave it to her."
Why?
Was it not enough to cheat on me? Did you have to desecrate my mother's memory too? "You're being hysterical," he spat, and the word hit me like a slap. "It's just a piece of jewelry. You were obsessed with it. It was like you cared more about that damn bracelet than you did about me." There it was. The blame. The twisted logic of a guilty man. My grief was an inconvenience. My love for my mother was a flaw. My pain was my own fault. He was poisoning everything, turning my most sacred feelings into weapons to be used against me. "Get out," I whispered. The rage had burned itself out, leaving behind a terrifying, cold emptiness. "What?" "Get out of my house." "Sarah, be reasonable. This is my house too.
We can talk about this."
"There is nothing to talk about," I said, my voice flat and dead. "You have taken everything from me. Now get out." He stared at me, his mouth opening and closing. He saw the look in my eyes, I think. He saw that something had irrevocably broken. The woman who had loved him, who had built a life with him, was gone. In her place was someone he didn't recognize. Someone cold and hard as stone. He grabbed his coat and his keys, and without another word, he walked out the door, leaving me alone in the ruins. I stood in the middle of the dining room for a long time, the silence pressing in. The fight had been a storm, but now it was over. And in the quiet aftermath, a single, clear thought emerged from the wreckage. He was wrong. It wasn't just a piece of jewelry. And I was going to get it back. The days that followed were a strange, suspended reality. I was functioning but not living. I went to work. I paid the bills. I answered texts from friends with cheerful, hollow lies. "Everything's fine. Just busy." Mark was gone, staying with a friend, which I knew was a lie. He was with her. The thought was a constant, dull ache behind my ribs. I felt broken, shattered into a million pieces. The betrayal had been so complete, so profound. He hadn't just cheated, he had plundered my soul. He had taken my most vulnerable point, my love for my mother, and used it to woo another woman. I would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, the scene playing over and over in my head, his hands fastening my mother's bracelet onto her wrist. The thought made me physically ill. For a week, I just drifted in this sea of pain. I cried until I was dehydrated. I didn't eat. I felt powerless, like a victim of a crime so personal there was no court that could prosecute it. He had won. He had the new life, the new woman, and she had the spoils of his war against me. And then something shifted. It happened on a Sunday morning. I was sitting on the porch, a cold cup of coffee in my hand, staring at the empty chair where Mark used to sit. The emptiness didn't feel sad anymore. It just felt empty. And I realized the grief was starting to burn away, leaving something else in its place. It was cold and hard and sharp. It was anger, not the hot, screaming rage from our fight, but a different kind. A focused, glacial rage. I thought about my mother. I thought about the strength she'd said was woven into the bracelet's silver vines. The women in our family holding on to each other. I had been letting him win. I had been playing the part he'd assigned me. The hysterical, grieving wife. The victim. No more. He had underestimated me. He saw me as soft, emotional, easily broken. He had forgotten that I was my mother's daughter. And my mother was a fighter. A plan began to form in my mind, not born of emotion, but of cold, clear logic. Screaming and crying wouldn't get my bracelet back. Leaving him and filing for divorce felt like letting him get away with it. He would just move on, his new life built on the rubble of mine, without consequence.
No.
That wasn't justice. He had called it a crime. Are you treating this like some major crime? He'd mocked.
Fine.
I would. I went to my office and pulled out the file. The police report I'd filed 3 months ago. Case number, officer's name, a detailed description of the stolen item. Theft of personal property valued over $5,000 of felony. I found the insurance appraisal, a document that listed the bracelet's value at nearly $10,000 and, more importantly, listed me as the sole owner. I had pictures of my mother wearing it. I had pictures of me wearing it. I had the original velvet box it came in. I had a paper trail that proved ownership more powerfully than any emotion ever could. Mark thought this was a battle of hearts. He was wrong. This was a battle of assets. And he had handed me the weapon. His defense, the one he'd probably already given her, was, I gave it to you as a gift, but you can't gift something you don't own. You can't gift something that has been reported stolen. Gifting stolen property isn't a defense. It's a confession. He had made himself an accessory, and he had made her the person in possession of stolen goods. I started to breathe again. The plan was simple. It was brutal. And it was perfect. I wasn't going to confront her. I wasn't going to have another screaming match with him. I was going to let the law do the talking. All I needed was to know where she would be, wearing my mother's bracelet. And I knew just the event. Mark's firm was having its annual awards gala in 2 weeks. A big, public affair. He would be there. And he would bring her. He'd want to show her off. And she, wanting to impress his colleagues, would wear her most beautiful gift. I spent the next 2 weeks preparing. I contacted a divorce lawyer, the best and most ruthless one I could find. I gathered all our financial documents. I became a machine, fueled by an icy resolve. The pain was still there, a low hum beneath the surface, but it no longer controlled me. I was in control now. I was taking my power back. I was no longer the victim. I was the architect of his downfall. And it was going to be spectacular. The night of the gala arrives like a judgment day. I choose my dress with the care of a general choosing her armor. It's a simple, elegant black sheath. Understated. Professional. The dress of a woman who is not here to celebrate. I do my makeup, my hands steady. When I look in the mirror, I barely recognize the woman staring back. Her eyes are different. The sadness is still there, deep down, but it's overlaid with a hard, polished sheen. The look of someone who has been through fire and come out the other side made of steel. I don't go to the gala. Not at first. I go to a quiet bar across the street, taking a table by the window with a clear view of the hotel entrance. I order a glass of water. I wait. The plan is a delicate machine, and every gear must turn at the correct moment. At 7:15, I see them. Mark gets out of a cab, handsome in his tuxedo. He turns and offers his hand to her.
Chloe.
She emerges like a starlet, all shimmering gold fabric and blonde hair swept into an elaborate updo. She looks beautiful, and as she turns to laugh at something he says, the ballroom lights catch the sparkle on her wrist. There it is. My mother's bracelet. Bold as brass, worn as a trophy. A fresh wave of pain washes over me, hot and sharp, but I push it down. I watch them walk into the hotel, his hand on the small of her back. They look like a power couple. They look happy. The sight should destroy me. Instead, it fuels me. I take out my phone. My heart is pounding, a frantic drum against my ribs, but my fingers are steady as I dial. 911. What is your emergency? Hello, I say, my voice calm and even. I need to report the location of a suspect in a felony theft. I give the operator the address of the hotel. I give her the case number from the report I filed 3 months ago. I describe the stolen item in perfect detail, a sterling silver filigree bracelet with 24 small, dark blue sapphires. And then I describe the woman wearing it. Blonde hair, gold dress. And you are certain this is your property? The operator asks. I am 100% certain, I say. I have the insurance documents and the original police report. The woman wearing it is in possession of stolen property. Officers are on their way, ma'am. Please stay on the line. I watch the hotel entrance. It feels like an eternity, but it's probably only 5 minutes before 2 police cars pull up, their lights off. 2 uniformed officers get out and walk calmly into the hotel lobby. The first gear has turned. Now for part 2. I pay for my water, walk across the street, and enter the hotel. I don't go into the ballroom. I find the hotel's head of security, a stern-looking man in a sharp suit, and show him my driver's license and a copy of the police report on my phone. My name is Sarah Jensen, I say, my voice low and firm. My husband, Mark Jensen, is in your ballroom at the gala. A few moments ago, I called the police. They are on their way up. A woman with my husband is wearing a piece of jewelry that was stolen from my home 3 months ago. This is the case number. When the police arrive, I need you to let them in, and I need you to come with them. The security guard's eyes widen slightly. He looks from my phone to my face. He sees the look in my eyes. He nods, speaking quietly into his radio. The second gear clicks into place. I walk to the ballroom doors. I can hear the music, the muffled roar of 200 people talking and laughing. I take a deep breath. This is it. The final act. The security guard joins me, along with the 2 police officers. One of the officers looks at me. Are you ready, ma'am? I nod. I'm ready. The security guard opens the doors. The noise hits us first. A wave of sound and light. People in tuxedos and gowns, champagne glasses tinkling. A band is playing on a stage. For a second, no one notices us. Then a few heads turn. A police uniform is a discordant note in a symphony of glamour. The ripples of awareness spread. The chatter begins to die down. I scan the room, and I see them. They're at a table near the front, with Mark's boss and his wife. They are laughing. Mark has his arm draped casually over the back of her chair. They look perfect, untouchable. We start walking toward them. A path parts for us through the crowd. The whispers follow us, like a wake. I keep my eyes locked on their table. Mark looks up, sees the uniforms, and a flicker of confusion crosses his face. Then he sees me walking behind them. His smile vanishes. His face goes white. He knows. We reach the table. One of the officers, the taller one, speaks. His voice isn't loud, but it cuts through the silence that has fallen over the room. Ma'am, are you Chloe Sanders? Chloe looks up, startled. Annoyed. Yes? What is this about? The officer doesn't look at her. He looks at me. I give a slight, almost imperceptible nod. Then I look directly at the bracelet on her wrist. The officer follows my gaze. Ma'am, he says, his voice hardening slightly. I need you to come with us. You are in possession of an item that was reported stolen in connection with a felony theft. Chloe lets out a short, sharp laugh of disbelief. Stolen? That's ridiculous. This was a gift. She looks at Mark, expecting him to handle this. Mark is on his feet, his face a mask of fury and panic. Officer, there's been a huge mistake. This is my wife, he says, gesturing vaguely at me.
She's just being dramatic.
I gave that bracelet to Chloe. It was a gift. He says it. The magic words. He confesses right here in front of his boss, his colleagues, and 2 police officers. He admits to giving away stolen property. The final gear clicks into place. The machine is complete. The officer turns his gaze to Mark. It's a slow, deliberate movement. Sir, did you purchase this item? Well, no. It belonged to her family. Mark stammers, his confidence evaporating. So you gave away property that did not belong to you? The officer asks, his voice flat. Property that was reported stolen 3 months ago? The report was filed by Sarah Jensen. He looks at me. Is this your wife? The blood drains from Mark's face. He looks from the officer to me. He sees the cold, calm expression on my face. He sees the trap, now fully sprung. He understands what I have done. And he finally understands who he was dealing with. Chloe is looking back and forth between us, her face a mixture of confusion and dawning horror. Mark?
What is he talking about?
You told me it was your grandmother's. The lie is so pathetic, so transparent, it's almost funny. The officer ignores her.
He looks at me.
Ma'am, can you confirm this is the item in question? I step forward. I look down at Chloe, at the beautiful, delicate piece of my mother's soul wrapped around her wrist. Yes, I say, my voice clear and strong, ringing out in the silent room. That is my mother's bracelet, and I want it back. The officer turns back to Chloe. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to take off the bracelet. It's evidence, and you need to come with us downtown to answer some questions.
No.
Chloe shrieks, snatching her hand back. You can't do this. Mark, do something. But Mark is frozen. He's staring at me, his mouth slightly open. The look in his eyes is pure, unadulterated hatred. And beneath it, something else.
Fear.
He is trapped. He implicated himself. He did this, in public, in the most humiliating way possible. And then he screams. It's not a word. It's just a raw, guttural sound of pure rage and impotence. You, he bellows, pointing a shaking finger at me. You did this. You crazy bitch. You ruined everything. His boss is staring, aghast. His colleagues are filming on their phones. The whole room is watching as my husband, the successful, charming lawyer, completely unravels. He lunges toward me, but the second officer steps in his way, putting a firm hand on his chest. While he's screaming, the other officer is dealing with Chloe. She's crying now, mascara running down her face as she fumbles with the clasp. She can't get it undone. The officer takes her wrist, and with a practiced, impersonal movement, he unfastens my mother's bracelet and places it in an evidence bag. Then he puts her hands behind her back. The click of the handcuffs is the loudest sound I have ever heard. They lead her away, past the tables of stunned onlookers, this beautiful, glamorous woman reduced to a common criminal. Mark just stands there, shaking, his screams dying in his throat. He watches her go. He looks at his boss, who is looking at him with utter contempt. He looks at the sea of faces, all staring at him. He has lost everything in the space of 5 minutes. His job, his reputation, his mistress. All gone. He turns to me one last time, his face contorted with a hatred so pure it's breathtaking. But I don't feel anything. Not fear. Not even satisfaction. Just a vast, cold, quiet emptiness. The storm is over. I look at him, this man who is my life, and I feel nothing at all. I just turn and walk away, leaving him alone in the wreckage he built. The aftermath is not a clean, simple ending. It's a messy, protracted unwinding of a life. The arrest at the gala becomes the stuff of corporate legend. Mark is fired the next day. The morality clause in his contract is his official reason for termination, but the truth is, no one wants to be associated with that kind of spectacular, public implosion. Chloe is charged with possession of stolen property. Her lawyer tries to argue that she was an unwitting recipient of a gift, but the DA isn't buying it. Mark's public confession that he knowingly gave her property that wasn't his makes them both look guilty. In the end, Chloe takes a plea deal to avoid a trial, return the property, pay a hefty fine, and complete community service. Her brief, shining career at the firm is over before it truly began. My divorce from Mark is brutal, but swift. My lawyer, the shark I hired, uses the police report and the circumstances of the gala as leverage. Mark doesn't have a leg to stand on. He tries to fight, to claim half of everything, but his position is hopelessly compromised. He is emotionally, financially, and professionally ruined. In the end, he walks away with almost nothing. I keep the house. I keep my dignity. A few weeks after the gala, a package arrives from the police department. Inside, nestled in a sterile plastic bag, is the bracelet. I take it out, the metal cold against my skin. It looks the same. The silver vines, the dark blue sapphires. But it feels different. It's not just my mother's memory anymore. It's tainted with betrayal, with the ugliness of the last few months. But it's also imbued with something new. It's a symbol of my own survival, a reminder that I fought back. I clean it carefully, polishing the silver until it gleams, until the sapphires look like drops of twilight ocean again. I don't put it back in the velvet box in my dresser. I can't. That place belongs to a different woman, a different life. Instead, I place it on the small, antique table next to my bed. It sits there, catching the morning light. Some days, I look at it and feel a pang of sadness for the marriage I lost, for the man I thought I knew. I grieve for the innocence that was stolen from me, the simple faith that the person who vowed to protect you wouldn't be the one to hurt you the most. But most days, I look at it and I feel strength. I see the line of women in my family, and I feel like I've finally earned my place among them. They were survivors. And now so am I. He thought he could break me by taking the one thing I held sacred. But he was wrong. He didn't understand. You can't steal a person's strength. You can only reveal it. He didn't break me. He forged me into something new. Something harder. Something stronger. Something that will never, ever be a victim again. That bracelet sits on my dresser now. A reminder of what I lost, and what I found in myself. If this story hit close to home, I'd love to hear your version. Thanks for being here. Subscribing helps bring more of these to life.